सो मुझे पहले ये बताओ कि डेरिवेटिव्स, सो हम लोग के एक्सचेंज ट्रेडेड डेरिवेटिव, सो डेरिवेटिव्स इक्विटीज, ओके, और बाकी के भी प्रोडक्ट्स है जैसे लिक्विड है, अभी एस एफ टी आर आ रहा है, सो ये रेगुलेशंस के प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, दीज आर रेगुलेशन प्रोडक्ट्स. सो आई टॉक इन इंग्लिश here if anyone wants to see that, that will be also helpful for them. Okay, so what you have understood out of derivatives? What are derivatives? Do you know what are derivatives? Because you should understand this, right? What are derivatives?
So I guess derivative is when you derive some kind of something out of an underlying thing. In trading, in our case, the underlying is an asset. It can be currency or any commodity. And derivative is predicting its maybe cost in future.
Okay. So I'll tell you what. So derivatives are mainly of type future option, and the strategies come over both this future and option. So basically, what is derivative is, these are the instruments which are uh, kind of basically these instruments are because of the exchanges. These exchanges are on the main underlying asset or main underlying security. These instruments are being given by exchange. That's why they call it as exchange traded derivatives. Okay. So for an example, what example I can give? So for example, Reliance Energy. Reliance Energy is a say suppose the equity is, there is an equity based underlying product of Reliance Energy. So what exchange does is basically on this Reliance Energy product they come up with the derivatives. So their derivatives are of type future as well as of type option. Over here I will not tell you exactly what is future, what is that I will not go into deep that much. You probably can go read on the Google and you can understand. Okay, but so there are two parts in this particular. So say suppose say future security or option security. There are two parts in this. One is a pricing data, because this instrument is getting traded in the market. Okay, so somebody must be buying it, somebody that contract this thing, somebody must be buying it, somebody must be selling it, right? There are always two parties, one buying and one selling party. Okay, and the whole transaction is happening through exchange. Okay, so uh, so so, so there are two parts in this. One is pricing data. So I sold it to you, you bought it from me. Okay, so we agreed upon some price and some quantity. So pricing data comes into picture, and another is what we call it as a reference data, means all other attribute to it. Okay, so for an example, Reliance Energy's product come with say suppose I give a particular prefix to it to know that this is for the in this exchange this particular security is getting traded with a particular prefix. So for example, so Reliance Energy, okay, and so a future product comes and I need REE, say suppose, just an example. Okay, so this is a prefix that is that I am giving for this Reliance Energy product. So in exchange, the NSE is the exchange which comes up with this future product which has a prefix is REE. So if you want to find out this, you have to enter REE on NSE website and you can get that product information. So there are different information. So so what is the quantity in which you can buy or sell this, or what is the price per quantity. Okay, so there are so many attributes. So you might have heard about the attributes like tick size, okay, contract size, tick value. So there is a margin in which this goes up or comes down. So there is a margin value. So all these are the derivative level attributes. Okay, and then uh, based on how much quantity you are buying or selling at what price, there is a price derivation. Okay, so you are buying of this price and I am selling of for this price. Okay, so that price part we are not having that data. What we are having is a transactional data we don't have. Okay, so there might be Saurabh is buying it and selling it to you, or you buying it again selling it to you. So that transactional data is not there. But the contract terms, contract other attribute thing is with us. So when he sold it, what was the tick size, what was the contract size and all. Or when you sold it again, then what was that? Then what is the month? Whether is what is that contract tenure? So every contract comes with an expiry. Okay, it might be a daily contract, so that is getting on the start of the day, end of the day, it is getting dissolved. Okay, or getting expired. Some contracts are monthly contracts, some are quarterly contract, some are yearly contracts, something like that. So that is a tenure, duration of that contract. Okay. So basically, these kind of a reference data. What we are doing is we are created a repository or kind of a data structure wherein we are getting all this data. Okay. So you understood this is a basic of I'm covering exchange traded derivatives right now. So I will talk about ETDs only. Okay. Okay.
So apart from the attributes which Amit has told, like tick size, expiry date, there are more attributes,
many.
right? So you figure it out. We'll talk it in the next session.
So when you will be doing mapping, you will definitely come across more attributes, and what are those attributes, where it is useful, what are some of the attributes are static, some of the attributes are dynamic. Why some of the attributes are dynamic? Okay. So I'll come to that part slowly. That how we are doing it, how we are you know. With that data, how we are into this industry and what business we are doing. So that I will come to this story. So the business is, for example, so I'll start with that from there. Okay. So there are so many exchanges across the world, and there are so many derivatives that those are getting traded in so many exchanges. Okay, so exchange is one of the source for me to get this data. Agreed? Okay, so I'll write exchanges over here. So exchanges. So we'll take some examples. NSE.
Do you guys know any other exchange apart from NSE, BSE?
Tokyo Stock Exchange, Expom with
What is that?
Expom with BSE.
XBOM is BSE.
New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, Sydney, Stockholm, Tokyo London Stock Exchange,
Yes. Europe, right? I'm just giving you an example, just simplifying the things for you. I'm not trying to give you actual thing. It's very easy to making it very easy to understand. So these are, for example, these are exchanges, different countries. Okay. So what this is one of the source for me. This is not source number one for me. Okay. I'm getting data from exchanges. Okay. So I'm getting data, that means I am purchasing the license to get this data from. Because when I am getting data, I must be doing something with that data, and the intention is to use that data to sell it to my client. That means I need a license for it, right? I should have a license to process and license to distribute the data. Okay, so this is the exchange. What could be the other sources that vendors? Perfect. So the second source is vendors. Okay, so vendors like, I think you guys know, but then I'll still state Reuters, Bloomberg, to enough for this point of time. Okay. So now I got data from two sources. Okay, why I'm getting data from two sources? What can be the objective of getting data from two sources? I'm getting something different from that second source, right? That's what I'm getting, right? So the requirement is, and one more important thing is, to whom we are selling this data?
Investment banks.
Investment banks. So why investment banks are taking this data from us?
They also trade.
Sorry?
They also buy and trade.
Yeah, they do some.
They do trade.
They use that data for their business purpose, or probably for
Post-
trading, for investments. Yeah. So there is usage of that data for them, right? So there are two parts. Pricing data comes into picture, but they must be getting that pricing data from somewhere, or directly from the exchanges, or they might have their own set of data structure where they have this pricing data. Okay, but then so when they are getting this, when they are using this for the investment purpose, they are interested in something from these vendors. And what is the most important thing that they are getting from this are identifiers. So, for example, Reuters gives us read. Okay, BB, right?
But do you know what are these identifiers? Why do we have these identifiers?
Using all attributes, they create this ID, specific ID.
Okay, as unique to identify
To another.
a contract.
Right? So I'm not going into detail about the identifiers and all, because that would be too heavy for you to understand. Right now I'm making it very simple for you. So what Arduino is doing of this particular data is, so Arduino take data from source 1, take data from source 2. Okay, from these sources, okay, and they are creating, they are identifying the data, okay, and they are sending that data to the client. So that means there is a common data that we are getting from the vendors, which we are getting from the exchange, right? So, for example, Durex data or CME data we are getting from Reuters or Bloomberg, okay, and then we are consolidating the data and we are sending it back to the client, right? So this is Arduino business. Right. Simple. In simple terms, this is Arduino. Okay. And for this, so I'll start with a component which help us to do this. For this, we are using So XRF is my engine or is my utility, which we have which we have designed to do this particular activity. Okay, and this is our business because XRF is making sure with the XRF we are making sure that we can give what client is required. Okay. So apart from this, what are the engines you guys know?
Distribution.
Okay, that.
So just one thing, so like what Amit told, right? We use XRF to merge these two data, right? And this is where we have an advantage over our competitors. This is what nobody else gives. RDO gives it.
Okay. That UDL.
Distribution.
Distribution. Any other engines you guys know?
GFS. DMO.
Cell. Cell. What is it?
SM.
Very good. SM. Okay, these many are enough right now. So what that does?
Download the data.
Right. Download. Download the data from
Send it to the sources.
laptop. FTP location or whatever.
So the basic functionality of these engines, you are aware, right?
Location or web address, whatever it is. We download it. What UDL is?
Process that data.
Process, rather I will write parse and load. Okay. Where we, so basically how our data structure is designed. So when we load data, when you're saying load data, I need to make sure that NSE data is separately loaded, UREX data is separately loaded, and CME data is separately loaded. Right? Agree? So we have created a schema. So in our system we have a SD schemas. I'm just writing over here and UDM schema. Okay. So in SD schema, I'm just created like SD NSE, SD UREX, SD CME. Okay. So these are the different, so what we call it as, these are different data sources. Okay, we have a different data source for each of these feed or for each of the different source from where we are getting the data. So within an area of exchange, if there are small other exchanges, or I will not call them exchanges, but then if small other entities which are providing us different feed, then we create a different data source for it. Okay, just for the sake of keeping that these are taking for different data sources. So that if, say suppose in a system, if we are not getting a data from a particular feed, then we would be able to track for which feed we are not getting that data. So what is the source of that feed, right? From where we are getting that data, and we will accordingly track our issues and solve our issues. Okay. So it has been more normalized, so that we can identify things easily. Okay. So don't get confused with this. So for example, one of the exchange, in that one of the exchange, we are for future option and strategy, we are getting 3 files, but the data source is same. But exchange like CMEG, Okay, we have three different data sources created. For future file, there is a different data source. There is option file, there is a different data source. For strategy file, there is a different data source. Okay, so don't get confused with all this. So we are trying to normalize the structure so that we can identify issues if in case they come in the future and we can solve it, right? So simplifying the things, nothing else. Okay? So DAG UDL. So UDL we parse and load. So our data coming from NSC feed, it will be loaded in the yeah. So what DAG is doing, DAG is downloading from NSC. It creates one message. Okay, and it passes that message to UDL. Now UDL, when it is that engine is consuming that message, in that message itself the data source is mentioned. Okay, so UDL just have to see the data source, see for which schema the data source is mapped, and go and load that data. Okay, so UDL is parsing and loading the data. Parsing, what happens with parsing is there are certain conditions, there are certain rules written wherein we want to see whether the data coming is as per our requirement or not. If there is some corrupt data or some invalid data that is coming, we don't want to load it in our system. Okay, because that is unnecessarily, it will take load time, then cleanup activity should happen, and there are so many things we want to avoid it. So the parser is written in a way that we want to identify certain things before we allow the data to get into our system. That is what parser is doing. Okay, allowing, so it is kind of a check, and then we are loading the data in the system.
So have you guys seen that table? So for giving an example of NSC, right? So we are paying money to NSC, and we have got the license to get their feed. So if we see the DAG task of NSC in the DAG table, we will see the URL where the feed file will be present. To access that location, there will be a user ID, password, which will all be given in that table.
So I am going to take different session for that.
For DAG?
So for every engine, I am going to take different session, and I am going to tell them exactly what we do. It is not that too technical. It will be what we do on a regular basis to make sure the DAG is running, how the data file is getting downloaded, the tables link to DAG, and also that we will be taking it separate. So we'll take it that later. Let us finish the introduction part.
Okay.
So that next time onwards, when I will be talking about DAG, UDL, or XRF, then they should connect to this session that what has been stored. Right? So DAG will pass message to UDL. Then UDL will load the data, load the data, and pass the message to XRF. Okay. Now I'm just making a line over here. And will go to XRF. Okay. So in a XRF, what we do is, so in what is the difference between SD schema and XRF schema is that if you say, see the structure is almost similar. So in a SD schema, in SD for SDNSC we have tables like SD instrument, SD legal entity, SD security, SD derivative, SD feature option, and whatever. Okay. In XRF we have XR security, XR instrument, XR derivative, tables like that. Okay. So this is very similar, not exact same, but very similar structure there. What is the intention is that we pass this data from UDL to XRF and store whatever is required in XRF. Okay, and we don't store all the data. Just a second. Hello.
Till here we are clear. Is there anything you have questions on? Sure. Can you explain it?
जैसे हम लोग बताया था यूजर का पार्सिंग मतलब करते हैं तो we are getting data maybe in XML format or JSON format.
Correct.
तो पास करना उसके लिए रूल्स बनाए कि अगर JSON format में है तो उसके लिए
Not just that, the multiple things we can handle at parser. So even the length of the file, even the records, the data which is coming in the file, if certain kind of records are coming, parser can check and reject it. Even that.
Okay, so we pass the data to XRF and certain attributes we store, as is in XRF. Okay. So I come to XRF, how we are cross referencing, what we are doing to cross reference and all. Okay, so from that to UDL and then we send it to XRF. At the same time, when this data is getting loaded, the UDL will also sends the message to DMO. Okay. So guys, where we are, where we are using the DMO. What we are using the DMO? You have any idea? No. So I'll tell you what. So day one, I am getting one data. Okay. I have loaded that data, cross-referenced it. I have distributed the data to client. Client got that data. Okay. Day two, again I am getting some changes for a particular security in the system. Okay. Now what we are doing is we are sending only these many securities, either which are new or which are being updated to the client. So say suppose I have 1,000 securities in my database, okay, which are cross-referenced. So on day two, I get so right here just for you to understand. So day one, I get 1,000 securities. Okay. Day two, I get update for 200 securities, and I get, so this is update, this is insert, and I get 100 more securities which are insert, which is again insert. Okay. So what we do is when we distribute this data, right? We distribute the data as in we send full file to the client once in a week. Okay. And otherwise we send delta files to the client. What are delta files is what is being updated, what has come new on that particular day. We send only that data to client. Okay. So say suppose day one, okay, in delta also, in delta, so suppose day one is Monday, okay, Monday is day one, okay, on day one, in delta also I will say send 1,000 securities to client, because that is day one, right? So everything I should send it to client is as good as a full file to client, okay, but as I agreed that Monday to Friday I will be sending delta files, Saturday or Sunday I will be sending the full file. On Monday the 1,000 securities will go to client. Day 2, that is Tuesday, I will only send 300 securities to client. These 300 securities to client. Okay. So actual tally of securities is 1,100, right? Total securities is 1,100. Okay. And if, for example, there is no update on day 3 to 5, okay, then I will be only sending 1,100 securities in full file to client. Okay. You understood this? Now, where we capture this? How? There must be some logic, right? There has to be some logic which is defining what is update, what is insert, right? For every security getting inserted as well as updated, I am creating a data. So first day also I am creating 1,000 delta for 1,000 securities. Agreed? But on day 2, this delta gets generated only for 300, not for other 700. So there is a table, and just writing because it's only one table, CS delta log. okay, where I am creating these deltas against the security ID, okay, and you may see the data multiple entries for one security. So why is that? That I will tell you when I will explain the demo. Okay, right now I am not going completely deep into demo, but right now understand for every security we create a delta, and on that particular day when delta distribution is getting triggered, it finds the delta, whatever securities it finds in the delta table, it gets distributed.
So how come we have 1,100 total securities?
That is full. In full distribution, good question. In case of full distribution, we don't see CS data. We directly say what is there in database, what is processed. We don't see anything in there. Only data distribution go and looks into CS data. So on day 1 when you say 1000 securities, or on day 5 1001, in this case it will see delta because this is a delta distribution trigger. But in this case it will full file. So what is there in database? What are the active securities? Same. Got it?
Any questions?
Yeah. So far you have understood this much of flow. Understood? So okay. What's next? Okay. So basically from DMO I'll say, so distribution actually looks at the table. So distribution is, I'll just write over here that delta and foot. And delta will just see the CH delta. So XRF actually from XRF when we load the message, so this goes into our disk ka ye, right? Distribution ka ye.
Amit, one more thing.
Yeah.
XARL stores only mappings for all the attributes or actual attributes as well?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So in case of XRF, so I'll just give you a because XRF is a huge thing. XRF is the only thing. Without XRF, we wouldn't have done all these things, right? XRF is the major thing. So always understand, if anything goes wrong in XRF, there is always a higher alert. Okay. If people are running over here and there, understand there is something in XRF. Okay. So basically XRF is wherein what we do is there are certain rules written in XRF. Okay. So rules written in XRF. Okay. For example, I am not mentioning any attribute name as such. I am giving you a simple example. So attribute A plus attribute B plus attribute C, if they match, so for example for duration monthly, I'm only mentioning duration monthly, attribute A plus B plus C is matching from both the sources, then then cross-reference those securities because those are same securities. Okay. So X plus Y plus Z, if they are called for duration daily, then cross-reference. So there are different rules written in the XRF, which we execute to do this cross-referencing. These rules you can find in the XRF engine. There are XRF rules file where you can go and see what are the rules. It has been written for duration this is the rule. They match this attribute and do. Okay. If any of these attribute on any of the day is not matching, we break the link. So there are two activities happening in XRF: linking, delinking.
That is merging and demerging.
Yes. So these activities is happening based on these attributes. Okay. And you will say why this is happening is because So I am getting data directly from Exchange. That is my first source. That is my main source of data, right? But when I am getting data from vendor, okay, I am depending on for that particular data. You agree on this, right? So I don't know when vendor is going to send me the updated data. Okay. Till that time, this functionality makes sure that if that data is not getting updated, that is getting crossed. What we are doing, why we are doing this, and what is happening because of this is that we come to know that, say, suppose there are certain set of data for a particular asset type or whatever we are getting from vendor, but it is not updated one, and because of this, we can go back to vendor and say that this data you are sending, this update is not yet come to me. That's why our securities are not getting cross-referenced. Okay, we are not when they are not cross-referenced or they are delinked in that delta file on that particular day, those attributes are not gained because this whole logic of identifying is of cross-reference. So in distribution, how it might be looking is there is what is the product name I mentioned? Okay, for Reliance Energy, okay, for this Reliance Energy future product, okay, I am getting the data from Exchange plus Reuters with the rate when on day one when this is cross. On day two, I get update from Exchange, which is a XRF attribute, okay, and my securities got delinked. Now after Exchange file load, there is a Reuters file load that is happening. In that, I did not get the update. So actually, what is happening is on day two, in first instance, this is getting delinked, right? On the load of NSE file, it is getting delinked, and when I am loading Reuters file, it is getting relinked. Okay, so this is again and again happening depending upon how much time we are getting that update. Okay, but the relink did not happen because I did not get data from update from Reuters. Okay, so on day two in distribution, I am only sending Exchange data, and this RIC is not going.
So this we check like manually opening the file for, or there is some mechanism
No.
to check that the data is not.
So yeah, I'll come to that. So basically, there are so many checks that we are doing. There are so many teams that those are working. There is an operation team in Bangalore which is continuously maintaining these exchanges. There is an exchange owners for that. For example, there is an exchange owner for NSE who completely looking after this. He is checking how many securities went in Delta, how many updates came, how many securities did not get cross-reference, and all those stuff. They are doing it. They have certain reports to identify this thing. Okay, they are doing this manually or by query or by UI or by reports. There are Jasper reports which we are using, and that report also. There is a DQ team which is completely responsible for data quality, which is doing this particular activity, that their reports run daily basis and all, they check what is happening. Or sometimes if we miss something, then definitely clients come back saying that I did not receive this with the or there is a missing identifiers, okay, in this particular data file, and that with that we analyze the data, and we come to the conclusion that this is happening because it is not cross-reference on this particular data. But you know what? Even if this is getting dealing, whatever this is happening, because the update has come in Exchange and not in Reuters, we are generating delta. So that is going in data distribution. Our distributions are exchange driven. We need exchange data in an active state to send the distribution. Okay. If we have only vendor data, say suppose there is a scenario wherein vendor is sending us some security, but exchange we miss that security from exchange, or we are not having that security from exchange, then the vendor security will remain in the system in UDL and in XRF as is. We will not distribute that data. We will distribute only if it is got cross reference with exchange. So for an example, if this remains like this in full file, so the writer security is still there, right? It is not linked because the update has not come. But we don't send writer security separately. It goes through exchange security because the security is same. I just want to distribute some of the required attributes from vendor side, or like identifiers and some other attributes which client is asking. Okay, so this is good. You're understanding this, right? Okay. I'll come to VFS later. I'm not talking about VFS right now because it does very specific work. So we'll talk about VFS later. इन लोगों को बुम्बक का पीवी का वो है क्या? जीराज रहने वाले तो ये बाद में लेते हैं, मतलब बाद में ले सकते, पहले ये कवर करते हैं. DMO
इतना this much is clear, digestible और
थोड़ा अभी तक का क्लियर हुआ है ना? Whatever I have told you, you understood it, right? Because this base you need to understand. If I start when I start telling you DAG, UDL and other this thing, na, if this is not clear, you will not understand the thing why it is happening. I'm telling you basic also by simplifying it. I'm not making it difficult to understand.
So, Amit, in the case where you said vendor data is coming and exchange data is not coming, so the delinking part happens in that case as well?
Yes.
And
Yes.
data
If the
is
vendor data is not coming in the sense, say suppose contract size is my matching attribute, for an example. I'm just giving you an example. There is a contract size attribute which is my matching attribute, XRF attribute. We call it as a XRF attribute. These attributes help us to identify the cross and do the cross referencing. So contract size is one of the. So this is always and A and B and C. Okay, this is not or. This all three has to match, otherwise you will not cross reference. Okay, so if B is contract size in that, okay, and if that contract size update has come to us from exchange but not from vendor, then obviously as per the rule that I have written in that engine for that engine to identify the cross referencing, it is not matching on a particular day. Okay, both the values are different, so it will not remain linked. They will get delinked. Okay, till the time I get update from Reuters, it will remain like that in the system. There are individual securities there. How that XRF structure is, I will tell you later. Because if I tell you that, then you will get confused. Okay, I will separately take XRF. Probably we can ask some XRF expert to come in. That also help you to understand that. Okay, for some time. Okay. So this is very simple. Okay, if my matching attributes are the values of the matching attributes are matching, I will cross reference. If not, I will break those links. I will not keep it cross reference. That is very simple thing that we are doing. If this is happening 10 times a day, it will happen 10 times a day. We can't help. As simple as that.
so it is true in
Ideally, it is not. It is happening only once a day. Once we are getting update from exchange, once we are getting update from Reuters. Okay, in a day. Okay, so both the things. And now your question should be like this: why this is happening? Why these updates are coming? Because in some of the cases, somewhere the corporate action is happening. So there is one more linked to it, that is corporate action. What is corporate action? I will give you detail afterward. But the corporate action happens, and those corporate action updates, I'm expecting it from exchange. I'm expecting it from vendor as well. Okay, and for certain attributes, like in case of options, uh, there is one attribute, that is strike price, which is very important, and we use it as a cross-referencing attribute. Okay, if that is changing, then definitely my linking, delinking is happening. Okay, that attribute is a kind of a insert update attribute. You have heard about this insert update attribute.
Not about insert, but in case of corporate actions, like if the companies, two companies are merging or one company is being divided,
So that is corporate action. That is corporate action. So tomorrow Reliance Energy is changed by Adani Energy. So the corporate action happened, right? The name itself changed. So they might change the prefix also. Okay. So that's how it is happening. And that data we are getting from exchange. This corporate action happened, this is changed, the prefix itself is changing. Whether we want to create a new product for that or not, that is a different thing. This all we are saying now, this is based, still the product is yet to come. How we have developed our products. I have not started off product, but this you need to understand. So in UDL also, there is a logic of how we are inserting and updating the data. Okay, so there is a logic wherein how will I know that this is that security which came yesterday and I have to send an update. So there is one particular logic parsing written in a parser. It is written that to identify on which specific attributes I want to insert the security, or I want to update to the existing security. Okay, so for an example, in some of the cases, please be very sure about this. The strike price is a insert attribute. If I change strike price, it will insert new security. But some of the exchanges, it is not like that. I send update to strike price. So there are so many cases. We will discuss that in detail as well. I probably also have to recollect some of the data, because I also am not continuously working in UDL. But then, yes, there are flavors in that also. So there is the insert update logic that is happening. So you can play with the data. Say for example, we provide one feed file to you guys. Okay, if you change one data, see whether it is updating it or whether it is. So when you are doing mapping, there is one summary tab. You need to go through that summary tab as well. That will help you understand exactly how it is happening. Okay. So you cannot change anything and it will get updated. No. Sometimes what will happen is it is an insert attribute. It is only been used for inserting and not for updating. Then in that case, if you change that value and if that has been used as a part of a source unique, you know what is source unique? We are creating one source unique ID at security instrument level, product level as well. This source unique ID is to identify that with this source unique ID, I am going to insert or update basically. So this source unique ID can be a single key or can be a concatenation of multiple keys. Okay, any of the attribute you update from that particular value, it will insert a new security, because it will not find that security in the system. So what it does is, when UDL is loading the data, it's trying to find out that source unique ID. If it finds, it updates. If it is not finding it, it will insert one more security. So tomorrow, if one feed is given to you with one data, and if you change any attribute which is being used as a for the concatenation of that source unique ID, it will get inserted, and you will say that update is not happening. It is inserting the security. So when you load a security first time, first go and check what is the product level source unique ID and what is the contract security level source unique ID. If you understand this and from where this is happening, it will be easier for you to play with that record, to update the data and check where the update is going, as per the mapping it is going or not going, because that activity is going to come to you.
So we'll cover all this when we do UDL training. Right?
Yes. I'm just giving them because they should.
Don't get too much burden, but when we'll do UDL, we will get in detail.
Okay. Now, how much time we have?
So it's 11:40. I'll keep 15 minutes
It is 10:40.
10:40, sorry.
So we have.
We'll keep 15 minutes for questions.
Yeah, sure. So I'll finish up with SEN and SMO because they're not doing too much of thing. Okay. So for today, I think this much is enough for you guys. Okay. So what is SEN is doing? Okay. So system enrichment. Okay. So SEN is basically mainly used for identifying the securities which are or the contracts which are expired, and SEN is actually inactivating those securities from our system. So that is kind of a cleanup of our database, because we don't want to unnecessarily send all the securities. Because full file we send all the securities, right? What is active? So what SEN does is, so there is one RDU inactivation date that is getting created in security table. RDU inactivation date. This date is nothing but the last trade date or the expiration date of that contract. Last trade date, generally we use this term in case of futures contract. Expiration date in case of options contract. I'm not talking about strategy because it's a different logic altogether. Okay. So what we generally do, we store this value in a RDU inactivation date as well. Okay. So why I'm telling you this, there is a link, because from where we are deriving the RDU inactivation date, that would be the question actually. But the thing is, we are storing the last date or expiration date in RDU inactivation date. What SEN does is, when that date is passed as per the of that time zone of that contract, when we are loading the security, when we are loading the field file, after that whatever SEN task runs, it checks what are the past date. Okay, and if the date is in the past, it goes and inactivate the security. So what SEN does is, SEN inactivate security at SD level. Okay, so I'll show you the this thing over here. So SEN, before telling this, so there is a exchange security, there is a vendor security board or XRF. Okay. Okay. This is in SD. This is in SD exchange. This is in SD vendor. Okay. So what SEN does is, SEN inactivates, it checks the exchange security. Okay, directly. So when SEN task is running, okay, for it goes, and so for example, how we have a region wise SEN task, right?
We have region-wise centers.
Yeah. So for example, Asia SEN task is running. It goes and checks the securities which are the RDU inactivation date is already passed for that particular exchange, say NSE, and it will inactivate this security. Okay. So SEC1 is inactivated.
It
Okay.
simply checks wherever RDU inactivation date is less than today's date. It picks up those and inactivates it.
Then it sends the message to XRF, because there is a link in XRF, right? What it does, XRF will inactivate. So how in XRF it is? So this is XRF actually. So SEN inactivate the security. So I'm not doing this XRF. So basically it will send message to XRF. This is XRF. Okay. So in over here, there is one security, that is XR security. Okay, and the link has been created like XR link 1 for SD and XR link 2 for vendor. Exchange. and 2 for vendor. These are the links created. So we have only one XR security and there are 2 links created, right? What it does is this when this message is going to XRF, it inactivates this. As soon as this is getting inactivated, okay, it inactivates the vendor as well, connecting to the. So the vendor security is no more used, right? Because we have inactivated the exchange security. It inactivates the vendor, and then again after doing this, after both getting inactivated, it inactivates the actual XR security that's created in XR security. Now everything is inactivated at XRF side. We have nothing left in XRF side. It after this is done, it sends the message back to SN. Okay, that why it sends the message to SN?
Confirmation.
No. Anyone? Can you see and tell me why it is sending message? What is remaining now?
Second vendor.
Yes. So when it inactivates the vendor link, okay, the vendor security from the SD side has to be inactivated. So it sends a message to SEN saying that vendor security needs to be inactivated, and then in second instance SEN goes and inactivates the vendor security. This is a flow. This is how it is happening. So SEN is making sure that the SEN's work is completed when it goes and inactivates the vendor security. So now the inactivation is complete because we have nothing remaining for that particular contract in our system. Everything is inactivated. You got it? Okay. So after this has happened, the message also goes to this. So basically, this inactivation. When this inactivation is happening, the message also goes to DMO. Why DMO? Because we also want to tell client that this security is no more active. So in Delta, we send inactive security once in one Delta. First Delta, which is generated after inactivation, we send this is inactive. So the security goes with flag active N. So there in Delta file you will find securities with flag active N because those are inactive. This is the first time. Next time the Delta will not get generated. In full file we don't consider inactive securities because I told you that when we Delta is direct, a full file is directly from database. So when we are generating that full file, we only consider active securities, and it does not see the CS Delta now. So it will only find active securities. The inactive security we don't send in full file. Only we send in the first Delta file. Second Delta. So how this is working is as soon as the Delta is consumed, that Delta will not be used again. Once the file is triggered, the Delta gets consumed, and then it will not be used again. You're getting this? Okay. I think we should stop. I'll tell you SMO, what SMO is doing, but you are understanding, right? You guys have understood, right? I need questions.
SMO and DFS coming from data.
SMO I will tell you more when we will be covering UI. Okay? And VFS we will take it separately because VFS is only doing specific stuff. So stop it.